something I don't like
Sure.
in America is the locations of some of these tournaments.
Okay.
I like Miami. When me and you talked, we were like, yo, we want to go to, what were the 3 or 4 spots? We said Monte Carlo would be awesome.
Yeah.
Madrid.
Yeah.
Roland Garros.
Yeah, for sure.
Because the locations are sweet, right?
Yeah.
But then, we talked Madrid, right? But then there's ATP 1000 in Cincinnati. Like, bro, who the fuck is going to go to Cincinnati?
Yeah.
Well, I don't like that. I think I don't like
Everyone
that.
living in Cincinnati is like, fuck you, dude.
I'm sorry, but I don't like that. We can do better than this.
Yeah.
Los Angeles, somewhere else, please.
Yeah.
And Indian Wells, why? Like, that's in the middle.
It looks
of
beautiful, but yeah.
No one's doubting it.
Right.
But more eyeballs is the goal, right?
Yeah.
I don't like all the locations.
I agree with you. And I think, so it's weird because the ATP and the WTA have tournaments in the right states in the US. They have 2 in Florida, they have 2 in Texas, they have 1 in California, to my knowledge, and then they have
the US Open.
The US Open in New York, which is not ATP technically, but the sport of tennis has the US Open in New York, right? And those are the 4 most populous states in the US.
Right.
So they're doing that correctly, right? But like you said, you're referring to the urban spots.
Come on, bro.
You're referring to like the urban spots, and I agree with you.
Yeah, we need max eyeballs.
We should talk about this since we're having this conversation. So, as we know, there's 9 ATP Masters 1000 tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
There's been rumors that there should be a 10th, or that there could be a 10th in the near future.
Man, that's tough, because that's 10 plus 4 slams. That's 14 tournaments that players must be at over the course of 12 months. No, less, 10 months.
I mean, yes and no. Like, let's remember, it's 8 of the 9 right now are required to be played in the ATP 1000 tournaments. If you throw in a 10th, I don't know if it would be optional.
I don't agree. I don't agree that it should be 10, because think about how me and you talk about the NBA, right? We say, man, if they shorten their schedule a little bit, or we love how the NFL, the NFL is so great because we only get 20 games a year max, pretty much, right? And if you're lucky, you'll get a 21st or 22nd, for your favorite team. But like, less is more almost, right? And
sure.
I feel like if you just shrunk it down and put them in the right locations, I'm going to keep coming back to this.
It's a good point.
No one wants to go to Cincinnati, right?
Yeah.
Like Djokovic and Alcaraz played in Cincinnati, I think, right after Wimbledon, right?
Okay.
Soon after Wimbledon. And can you imagine if that was in
like Las Vegas,
Los Angeles, Las Vegas? That'd be great, right? Like something different, right?
A lot of that prize money.
Exactly, bro. So it's like, what do we? I think there are little, there's ways you can work around the edges. I'm sorry to keep saying it, but why the hell are we in Cincinnati? Like, I don't understand it. Why is one of the 9 must-see tournaments outside of the 4 slams in that location of all places?
Yeah, it's a great question, and really just depends on who's sponsoring the event. But but like, well, okay, so actually, I think you make a very good point. Scarcity is a real thing, and it's needed, and that's the reason why the slams are the slams, right?
Of course.
I mean, there's a whole history again behind that. They were once exclusive. They were exclusive only to the aristocrats in society, and only in 1968, when the open era started, is when the slams decided, hey, we're going to let professional players, people who are on the streets literally competing for money, come in and play with the amateurs, right? The people who play just to play. But that started, right? But that history, that historical contingency, created the aura of the slams that we look at today, right? That sense of prestige, a sense of elitism, the sense of importance. And you're right. If the more and more tournaments that we throw in there, I think the more that we dilute the sport.
Yes.
So I think a better solution would probably be, and this is also a consideration, is just to upgrade one of the ATP 500s to an ATP 1000 instead. So you still have the same number of tournaments throughout the year, but one of them is just a little bit more important now, right? So it's kind of a medium between what you're thinking of. Now the question is, which location among all the ATP 500s?
Actually, I don't mind it, because a lot of these guys are playing in ATP 500s anyway.
They're essential.
So
they're essential to these players.
Yeah, I mean, why not? Maybe not make it mandatory. I don't know, actually. Maybe make it mandatory, because now that I'm thinking about it, it's like the guys don't only play and women, obviously, but we're talking about ATP. So the guys don't even play in just the thousands. They, like you said, they play in the 500s, and some play in the 250s.
Yeah.
So it's like, why not, right?
Yeah.
Why not? No, I agree. I wouldn't be mad at it. I just think that wouldn't help you bring more eyeballs. Well, we're talking about if we want this sport to grow in America, right?
Right.
It needs to be you can't just tell me, oh, there's a big tournament in Oklahoma. I'm gonna be like, I don't give a damn. Like,
Right. So location matters.
No,
to you.
we'll watch. We'll watch.
Yeah.
Right. But if I'm a casual fan that knows nothing,
Yeah.
I will watch.
Yeah.
I just Zverev lost in Hamburg today.
Yeah.
How the hell do I know that? Like, I kind of have a problem now, right? Like, of course, I will watch, right?
Yeah.
But I think if you want casual fans, it needs to be in more populated areas where it's like, hey, there's a big tennis tournament. Carlos Alcaraz is in town. Who the hell is Carlos Alcaraz? Watch these highlights. Great, let's go.
Yeah.
You know, it needs to be more.
Well, it needs to matter more to the players. It has to matter more to the players to attract them in the first place, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, the Mubadala City Open is about to happen in a week or two here in DC. And what's interesting about this is actually, so it's an ATP 500 level tournament, okay? Which means it's pretty important for some players. Maybe not.
There's a lot of good names coming.
There are a lot of good names coming, but someone like Carlos Alcaraz probably won't be showing up, right? And that's partly because...
Well, he'll be in the Olympics.
Yeah, I guess the Olympics is happening at the same time, so that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if he would come anyway.
That's a good question.
He wasn't there last year, not to my knowledge. And that's just because there's way more 500 tournaments than there are. I mean, there's 13 compared to 9 ATP 1000s. But beside the point, these tournaments, right, in order to attract players like that, they have to become an ATP 1000 tournament. That's that's what they're vying for, right?
Sure.
And it's interesting because there are like... It's interesting because Saudi Arabia is also coming into the picture, not to bring them in randomly, but it's like all of a sudden, you mentioned this, that the Miami Open now is being sponsored by PIF, right? The Public Investment Fund. There are talks that Saudi Arabia, especially through the PIF, obviously, is trying to bid for that 10th ATP 1000 tournament. So
interesting.
It's interesting because, you know, we're talking about the influence of the US, right? One, through the players, but two, also on the business side of things. And what's interesting is that I think that by embracing kind of the US culture behind, you know, by doing the profit sharing, by centralizing the media rights negotiations, by just following the playbooks that US sports have followed, you're also allowing more investment to flow in.
Sure.
Now, there can be debate. Maybe they're not the right investors to let in. That's not for me to say.
Yeah.
Right? Because right now, I think we can all agree that they just need more money to flow into the sport just for the sake of growth. So that's what I would say, right? It's like, you know, I think you make a really good point that we don't want to saturate the sport too much because these players are already getting injured. They already have...
Sure, but these tournaments are already happening, right? Like the 500s are already
right,
happening.
If you upgrade one of them, yes.
Right.
Yeah. But if you create a whole new tournament, right, then that's a different story. Because the Mubadala City Open is a fairly recent development. It hasn't been around historically.
It used to be a 250.
Oh, it was?
Yeah,
and then it got upgraded
90% sure it used to be a 250.
Okay, and then I got it upgraded to a 500. Exactly. So you also want to show the promoters of these tournaments that there's potential to actually become a more prestigious tournament, that there's room for growth. Just like a player or a company wants a promise or wants the ability to grow in an economy, you want to give the promoters the same kind of idea, right? So it's interesting because it's like its own little micro economy, or it's like the players are participants and the promoters are participants, and then you have the fans who are participants, right?
Right.
And you have to incentivize everyone to tag along and to join in and to contribute,
right,
in order to grow the economy as a whole.
Right.
So that's how I see it.
Yeah, I was gonna say like, well, maybe the US should get the 10th ATP 1000, but I kind of quickly went back against that because I'm just like, no, I mean they already have 4. You said 4, right?
Well, they have 3 ATP 1000 tournaments. Yeah, and then there's the US Open.
Yeah.
And then that's not even including ATP 500 and 250 tournaments, right?
Yeah,
So just so the people know, there's 10 ATP tournaments in the US already across all the levels, and there's 11 WTA tournaments in the US already.
That's why I was like, nah, they don't need the 10th. But
right.
I would say, I'm sorry, Cincinnati, I love you. Indian Wells, I'm sure people that are, you know, diehard tennis fans are going to say, you know, you can't jack tradition, you know, Indian Wells is iconic, blah, blah, blah. Look, man, you want to be more well-known, go to more populated areas and host big tournaments there. I promise you, you'll get way more fans.
Mm-hmm.
I promise you, you'll grow way more. Like, you would never see any celebrities be, you know, courtside at Indian Wells like that, right? Now,
Sure.
You put it in Los Angeles. Kobe Bryant was like a huge tennis fan, right? If Indian Wells or anything like that was in Los Angeles, I just envision him there. You know, I know he passed away and things like that, but like people like that will be
Sure.
there, right?
Yeah.
LeBron, I'm sure, would be like courtside watching, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's like you invite more of that, and if you're tennis, you need more of that. You're not you need to go away from the idea that you're just this prestigious sport that is like just a notch above everybody. It's like you're not. You know, at the end of the day, if you want to be known as the most popular sport in the world, if you want to surpass soccer, I don't even know if that's the goal, but it should be, right?
Yeah, of course.
So if that's your goal, then you need to go like act as if you're one of them, right? Don't act as if you're above them because you're not.
Right.
And I kind of just feel like tennis fans might not like how that sounds because I think there's this feeling in us as humans when we're kind of like, oh no, I don't want everyone else to love what I love or to see what I see or to have opinions on. It's the purist versus tourist argument. And I get it. Trust me, I feel that way about the UFC sometimes. I feel that way sometimes about basketball. But I don't think that like if you truly, truly, truly love tennis, you would know that it's not doing anything but helping it in the long run to get more casual eyeballs on it, right? The feeling I feel when I watch Carlos Alcaraz is the same feeling I feel when I watch Messi or LeBron, or I'm just amazed, right? Like I'm in my seat. I will not go on my phone if he's in the zone, right? And I'm like, why wouldn't you want as many people as humanly possible to see that, right? And there are better ways to do it than what they've been doing as of late. So I do think that we can do better with locations. Sorry, Cincinnati. I don't mean to shit on you guys. At least you guys have Joe Burrow. But, you'll be all right. But yeah, I would like to see locations change a little bit, specifically in the U.S., because this is like more of a U.S.-based episode.
Yes.
And I like that you're talking about, just the back end and everything that goes into it and how the U.S. already has a powerful influence, but it's not even a top 3 sport in the country, right?
No, it's not.
So it's like, okay, so then we have ground to make up.
Yeah.
You have this massive influence, yet little kids don't want to play tennis, only very select little kids want to play tennis. And that needs to be the goal. You need to attract more young people to want to play it, more older people to want to watch it, right?
Yep.